Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight we've got Will and D to talk about the monumentous move with Nick Saban retiring from Alabama football. It's absolutely unbelievable news.
Yeah.
Some people expected it. Will's happy. A lot of people are happy, and I understand why. Alabama, they say, is dead. They're history. They're no longer going to be among the elite. In college football, I don't know about that. We'll have to pump the brakes. We'll have to see if the next coach can continue. It's a tough loss. Nick Saban, what he's done in the last 15 years is absolutely unbelievable. Being able to consistently win 6 national titles, it's insane. And I'm not completely surprised that he's retiring either, because some people talked about, medical things, and other people have talked about the NIL and the portal and adapting to the modern game. A lot of older guys do not want to do that. We've seen Jay Wright in college basketball also, retire because he doesn't want to have to deal with that. So I thought he would retire in a year or two, but he decided to retire now. But we have Will and Dion to talk about Nick Saban and more. What are your first thoughts on the show and what we're going to be getting into tonight, Will?
Well, my first thoughts are Saban ruined my – I'm not saying he ruined my childhood, but, man, before that national title game, man, like I was in, like, 5th grade. I was like, we're going to do it. We're going to win the national championship. And then we're like, no. And then I was crying in my room for the rest of the night. So, like, I'm happy for college football. I think it's good for college football that I'm hoping that Georgia doesn't dominate now and take Alabama's spot. That's my biggest fear. But, I mean, Saban's one of the all-time greats. Like, he's up there with the Newt Rockneys, the Frank Leahys of the world. Like, he's one of the best. So, I got to respect him as well as be happy about it, too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. When you talk about Georgia being possibly the new dominant team, and they've kind of already been because they won 2 national titles in a row, and then it took Alabama knocking them off barely in the SEC championship game this year for Georgia to miss the college football playoff, because there's a really good chance that if Georgia wins that game and they make the playoff, I know Michigan fans were for certain that they were the best team, that there was no way in the world that Michigan would lose to Georgia. But there's a shot Georgia could have won it all again. They had a chance. So Alabama found a way to win, and that prevented it. But now that Nick Saban is gone and Alabama has uncertainty now, will Georgia become the new dominant team? I think it's going to be harder now because of the portal and because of NIL, that maybe more teams are going to be in the playing field. Plus, the 12-team playoff era is coming up. It is going to be hard for a team to, even if you're the best team, even if you're definitively the best team, and if it is Georgia in a given year that they're the best team in college football and everybody agrees with that, to go through a 12-team playoff because you're playing more games. What if you have a lot of injuries that prevent you from getting there? What if you just have a bad game? And with NIL and the portal, maybe some of these other teams can get more closer to Georgia's level or what Alabama was under Nick Saban. So we'll have to see. I'm like you, though. I don't really like a dominant team. I was happy as an Alabama fan, and as, my family being Bama fans for the last 80 years, I was happy Alabama was good in my childhood. It was awesome seeing this. I mean, every year, you almost took it for granted. It's like if Alabama did not win, the next year they get it done. They were going to win a national title next year, no big deal. You almost took it for granted, but I'm glad that I was able to watch Nick Saban and have the success that he did. But even me, because as the person I am, I like college football when it's competitive. And sometimes, even though Bama fans, they'd be happy if they won it every single year. They wouldn't care. I personally like it better when other teams will win too. Like, I was happy when LSU won. I was happy when Clemson won those times. Even though, yes, I wanted Bama to win, I also like it when those teams won. So I want college football to be competitive. So hopefully Alabama, even though everybody wants them to collapse and fall apart, because obviously being at the top, you want them to lose more, like Auburn fans and probably Ohio State fans and all that. I want them to stay good. Even if they're not going to be as good, I prefer them to still be a 9-10 win team at least every year under the new coach. So hopefully they don't fall apart.
Well, I'll say this. It's definitely – Alabama's definitely in a better spot now when Nick Saban left than when Bear Bryant left. I mean, like, Bama, I mean, they were supposed to compete in Bears last year, and then they just fell apart. And then like Auburn and Georgia were the better program for like the next 10 years until Gene Stallings got there. So definitely something to be happy about if you're a Alabama fan, is that you're still up there with the best.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, you got the fan support, they got the money. I mean, there's a lot going their way right now. It's not a bad time to lose Nick Saban, but it always hurts to lose one of the best no matter what. Like, no matter when it is, it's going to hurt. But we got Ty Guy here. Appreciate you for being here, Ty Guy. He says Lanning was confirmed in Tuscaloosa tonight by the local news. So that's the next topic, because everybody, the shock of Nick Saban retiring, I don't know if it's gone away for some people. It might take some Bama fans specifically a long time for this to really settle down. But for some people, they're already moving on for who is Alabama going to get. That's the next topic point. Candidates to replace Nick Saban. And there are a few names. Obviously, as Ty Guy said, Dan Lanning is the top of the list candidate for a lot of people. He's 37 years old, so he's a young name, young guy. Now, with a young guy, though, there's a couple caveats with that, because number one, if he does really well at Alabama, just say like he goes out there and is able to continue the success that Nick Saban did, will he stay or will he go off to the NFL? Will he make, the jump up to that level? Or him being young as well, will he not be experienced enough to handle the pressure of a job like this from an all-time great in Nick Saban? Because to me, like, you are going to have a lot going for you to be able to have the ability to follow up Nick Saban. It is not going to be easy.
For sure. I mean, especially with Dan Lanning. I mean, if he takes the job, he's the heavy favorite to take the job. He's going to have to get better at in-game coaching. Like that Washington game, man, he kept going for it. I mean, especially if you're going against Georgia, like Georgia will capitalize on that mistake. So he needs to hire someone, and I'm sure Bama would do this if he would be willing to follow through with this. Hire someone to like manage the clock for him during the game, so he can just focus on getting the players ready to go for the game.
Yeah, my thing is with Dan Lanning is that, to your point about getting better at in-game coaching, and I 100% agree, because, and I think that's partly due to the fact that he is such a young guy. He's not been a head coach that long. I mean, that's a big negative about Alabama possibly hiring him, is that he just was a defensive coordinator not too long ago at Georgia, and now he got the head coaching job. He's not been a coach that long, head coach. And I thought Oregon was the better football team this year over Washington, and I still believe that, even though people disagree with me, because Washington went out there and they beat them twice, and that holds merit. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely holds merit. But Kalen DeBoer got the most out of that team. I'm not saying Dan Lanning didn't at Oregon, but Oregon had a lot of talent. We know they do. They bring in high-level guys. They bring in talented players. They got a lot of NIL. They have a lot of things going for them right now in the modern day. And Dan Lanning had a good football team this year. Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, Troy Franklin had a good defense. I believe they were the more complete team than Washington. Based on their offense and defense, they were better than Washington, but they didn't win the games. And like you said, there was questionable play calls. Like you said before we went live, yes, Dan Lanning probably better than Mario Cristobal at in-game, coaching decisions, but still a lot of question marks. And that would be a downgrade for Alabama to go from Nick Saban to Dan Lanning when it comes to in-game coaching, and a guy that has a lot less experience. Now, Jared Jones, he says, I don't think Lanning leaves Oregon. That's what he says. But it definitely seems like the hot topic right now. But Tiger also, I wouldn't want to fall Saban. Only Kevin would want to, laughing out loud. I wouldn't want to either. I really would.
Lanning seems like the type of guy that would, though. He's just someone that seems like he's very confident in himself.
Well, I mean, him taking a job like Oregon at such a young age kind of proves that. I mean, going from Georgia, as defensive coordinator to Oregon as the head coach, and then you face Georgia in your first game and you get blitzed. That was ugly. I mean, that was absolutely ugly. They turned it around. They turned it around from that. But I remember when that game happened, people thought it was the end. Like, Dan Lanning is already on the hot seat from game one. Like, no. That Georgia, it's like they knew everything he was going to do. But I don't think Dan Lanning would be a horrible option. It's just, for me, it's like you're following Nick Saban. You got to find a way to hire the best option. Maybe Dan Lanning ends up being the guy. If he gets hired, hopefully Alabama gets the right staff around, and hopefully he improves on what he has shown at Oregon so he can go to Alabama and keep them at the top of the sport, toward the top anyway, in the top 5 or 10, so they can make the playoff every year and be still one of the best programs. But Dan Lanning does have some question marks, but he is for sure the favorite. The second guy on the candidates list, you got Steve Sarkisian. I don't know how much smoke's going his way. I mean, he's had some failures as a coach at other jobs, but he's gotten it together at Texas, just taking him to the playoff. What are your thoughts on him being a possible
I don't think
candidate?
he would leave Texas. Texas is at the same level as Bama as a program.
I agree.
They're going to be really good next year, too.
But see, some Oregon fans would say that they're all the same level, which that's not true. It's not even close. Texas is way more on Alabama's level. Probably, like you said, right at the level. Oregon's way below.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he would leave either. And I don't even know if Alabama would want to hire him because he just had one good season. Can he follow that up? He's had a lot of seasons as a coach in the past where he struggled. So Steve Sarkisian definitely a candidate. It's a possibility, but I'm like you. I would not leave. Now, a bigger extreme on a person that you wouldn't leave is some people saying Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is at Georgia, winning all these games, won 2 national titles. He's bringing in all these great players. Why would he go to Bama? That would be horrible. I know people say, well, Saban went from LSU to Bama, but
LSU went to the NFL. He went to the NFL between that.
That's true. That is true.
And they couldn't fire Les Miles because Les Miles just had a great year.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I 100% agree. So it wouldn't make sense for Kirby to go to Alabama. It's a completely different situation than with Nick Saban, with the LSU to, like you said, the NFL to Bama. A lot of people just say LSU to Bama, but yeah, he did go to the NFL for brief. And that's why, it didn't work out and then he got the Bama job. But it's just Kirby Smart's not leaving. He's not even on the list. But I'm just saying, to your point, Will, Steve Sarkisian also just wouldn't make sense to leave, especially because he's had a comparable job. Jared Jones says, what jobs would you guys say are equal to Bama?
Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Georgia, USC, Notre Dame.
Oklahoma?
Well, you can win at Oklahoma.
You can, but are they on the same level? I don't know.
I mean, they're a blue blood. That's what I was saying. They're in blue blood.
What about Ohio State and Michigan? You didn't say anything about them.
Nope. Yeah, sorry. I forgot about them.
I was about to say, Ohio State, Jerry Jones here, Buckeye fan. He's probably we got to be in the conversation.
Yeah, sorry.
See, Clemson isn't either. Clemson's not either, right? Because, they have certain things going against them. And see, that's the next candidate on the list. Dabo Swinney, Clemson coach. Clemson's not on Alabama's level, so it would be an upgrade for him to go to Alabama. But my biggest thing is that Dabo Swinney has to use the transfer portal.
He won't. He's too stubborn.
He has to use it, though, if he's going to be able to be at Alabama and if he's going to be able to work at Clemson. Because I think that if he does not use the portal, he's never going to be able to get Clemson back to the title level, to the national championship contention. I don't think
the problem with Dabo, and this isn't just a Dabo problem, this is also a Clemson problem.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson doesn't have as many wealthy boosters as other schools do.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying Clemson's not on Alabama's level.
So they could use NIL, but they can't do it even as big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I know if there was any Clemson fans in chat right now, they would be upset that I'm saying that Clemson's not on the level because we won 2 titles, but they're not on the level. Like you said, they don't have the NIL boosters. You have to be able to have the money to compete. I know A&M has the money, but A&M isn't winning right now. We'll see if they eventually do. It's not all about the money. You have to have the coaches and the right foundation, but still. Ty got says Smart's a Georgia grad. He's not leaving. 100%. Yeah. He's not leaving. Just some people have thrown that around, and it's hilarious. Tiger also don't want Dab. He's too nice of a guy. I mean, being nice is good, but you have to have other intangibles too. You have to be willing to adapt. And
I mean,
Dabo's
Dabo
not.
can be mean though, but I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Jared Jones says, agree. Clemson's a tier 2 job, Oregon, Tennessee type of job. I agree.
I don't know if I would even put Tennessee in tier 2. I might drop them down to tier 3. Sorry, Tennessee fans.
Oh no, Rocky Top's coming for Will. Rocky Top's coming. Yeah, I mean, I get it though. They're not the same. You have to be at the tippity top in everything. Fan support, NIL, a lot of areas to be able to call yourself a tier 1 job. So Dabo, if he doesn't adapt, he's not the right candidate. Then you got Kalen DeBoer. This is another one that he doesn't have a lot of head coaching experience. Like,
well, he not at the highest level.
I agree. He was at the lower level. I know, but I don't even really count that. I know some people say that it counts because you're winning at that level, but it's not the same. Like those are small schools. I'm talking about Fresno and Washington. Those two jobs I count. And he has not been at the highest level of college football for very long. He's coached for a long time, a lot longer than Lanning. He's older than Lanning, but he has not been able to, showcase for many seasons, like for a decade or so, that he can be at the top of college football coaching in the FBS. And I think what he has shown in the limited time at Washington, Fresno State is fantastic. And what he did show, to your point, Will, at the smaller schools is great too. But he's more of a wild card. I don't know if he's a serious candidate.
Mm-hmm. I think he would take it, but he wouldn't be one of my first choices.
Yeah, he would take the job, I would think. I think he would. And it might, mean maybe they get Grubb too. Maybe he would move from OC, from Washington to Bama as well. I don't know what would happen with Tommy Rees, but I don't know.
Oh, Tommy. Who knows what the heck's going to happen to Tommy?
I know. It's like, what's going to happen with Tommy Rees? It's who knows? But I do believe Kalen DeBoer's not a likely candidate, even though I think even though I feel like he would almost be better than Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning is all the rumors, and it looks like that's more of a likelihood than Kalen DeBoer. Then you got Mike Vrabel on this list.
He wouldn't go.
Yeah.
He would maybe go. Maybe he goes to Ohio State next year if they fire Ryan Day.
Yeah.
But that would probably be the only way he would go to college.
Yeah, I don't think that he would go to Bama either. Then you got Lane Kiffin. He's a good offensive coach, but I don't think so.
The boosters wouldn't want Lane because he would be too mouthy, and he would also he's too much with the women, too much womanizing.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of other successful coaches that have had issues like that in the past, but I mean, I don't think Lane Kiffin's gonna get the job either. I mean,
yeah.
Plus, he's assembled that really good roster at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he probably now, if you're in the mind of Lane Kiffin, you're probably thinking now that Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban, I can beat him. Right?
I think Lane would take the job, even with the roster.
I think he would take the job. Because
he would just take all the players from the portal that he wants from Ole Miss.
Well, he would, but I don't think Alabama would hire him. I don't think they would offer. But yeah, he'd take the job. He would be one that would take the job. But
Mike Price.
Oh,
Price. Price. He is.
Jared Jones says, I think Kevin would do great at Bama, but the boosters probably wouldn't allow it. RC, appreciate you for being here. He says Michigan punched Saban into retirement. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of NIL and the portal and his age and maybe medical.
Yeah, it's his age.
I don't think it's
health problems due to his age. It's health problems.
Ty Guy says Tennessee is a teacher. Oh boy, I love it. You guys are awesome in the comments right now. And the last candidate on this list, you got Dan Quinn.
28-3. 28-3. No.
Yeah, Ty Guy says it was a health issue. I think it was.
He's more known for losing to the Patriots.
Yeah, I remember that game. The Atlanta Falcons, man, they had the game. How do you lose that lead? Yeah, Dan Quinn's not serious, I don't think. RC says, is Jim Harbaugh going to go to the NFL? This
Yes.
shifting gears, but I think he is.
Yes.
The rumors, I mean,
He didn't
he won a
deny it.
national title. I think he wants a Super Bowl too.
He didn't deny it.
So it's not looking that good. Another thing when talking about Alabama with Nick Saban gone is you've got Ryan Williams decommitting from Alabama, and there's going to be a lot more. A lot of guys are going to leave Alabama from this. It's totally expected.
But well, yeah. So Lanning's probably going to get the job tomorrow, according to Tide Guy. So he's going to be there just trying to get guys to stay.
Yeah. And he might be able to, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep all of them.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard, even if you hire him really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So if Dan Lanning's the guy, Will, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being yes and 1 being no, what would you give that hire of Dan Lanning?
I give it a 6.
I mean, he's just so unproven. So I would say 5 or 6, 5.5. I'd go 5.5. I mean, he could end up being better, but you're replacing possibly the GOAT, the greatest of all time coach in college football, with a 37-year-old coach that has never been able to win at the highest level yet. He got close this year, but he didn't do it. And he hasn't coached that long. I just don't know. I just think that, to me, that's a massive downgrade. Anything's a massive downgrade, but RC says I go with a 5 with Lanning. I agree. 5.5 is for me, 5 or 6, but yeah. Ty Guy says, I want Wally Rigg. How do you pass from Texas State? Finding armadillos good necessary rep to prove he can coach. That's funny. Sean Bryant, appreciate it. Beer says, what do you guys know about Lanning and Tuscaloosa?
Well, we know that they want to. We know that they're going to name a coach tomorrow, and we know that Lanning is in Tuscaloosa. So
yeah, so it seems very likely. I mean, it kind of seems like a lot of this was in the works. Because, I mean, to me, like, Saban retires. I mean, yeah, you can get on a plane real quick, but, like, a lot of this seems like it was already in the works then. And if he already is going there, then, yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, Sean. Yeah, Will's got the latest information. Ty Guy as well. It's definitely seeming like that's the case. And I mean, if Dan Lanning's hired, I hope it works out. I'm not overly enthusiastic if Alabama hires him. I think
that they definitely wanted to hire a young coach, just because they want the coach to stay there for like 15 years at least, like Saban and Bear did.
Well, I get that, but like I said earlier, the problem with that is that with a young guy, he might jump to the NFL if he's winning a lot. You know, and that's my biggest thing.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like, Alabama is such a big job.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like coaching a Duke or a Carolina basketball. I understand that. It's just with young guys, tantalizing offers can happen. I mean, Harbaugh's at a great place in Michigan. He still want to go to the NFL. We know why. He's an older guy too. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes you can be at a really good place and still move. If you're going to get a guy like Lanning and he turns out to be really good, you want him to stay. If you have a guy, Will, who would you hire if you were Alabama?
Mike Norvell.
Okay. And he wasn't
How was he not on the list? He wasn't
on that list, but he was on other lists that I saw. I saw other lists, and he was on those lists. Mike Norvell, to me, is a guy that, like you mentioned as well before we went on, he's had experience as a coach. He was at Memphis, and he did good there. And then he's done really good turning around Florida State. And unlike Dabo Swinney, he uses the portal. He big time uses the portal. That's why they got as good as they did. And I know everybody was like, Florida State wasn't that good, and that's why they got destroyed. When they were fully healthy, that was a good football team. No, they were not really on Georgia's level or maybe Michigan's, but they were really good. He brought in a lot of talent. So I think Mike Norvell actually would be a better option than Dan Lanning based on what we know now. Again, maybe Lanning becomes that guy, but I really do think Norvell would be better. Ty Guy said, I think Saban puts together a list of replacements every year just in case something happened. The great thing with Saban, they had a plan B, C, and D just in case. Well, yeah, they had to because of so many guys jumping ship. I mean, we saw it all the time. I mean, you know, like a coordinator would leave and he'd have to replace him. And he said, plus, if we hired him, we could get our transfers back from Florida State. Oh, man.
And
That's
Jeffrey,
funny.
I think he would take the job, especially because Florida State's in the ACC, and the ACC got shafted in the playoff. So I think he would leave if he was asked.
Yeah, that makes sense, too, because, I mean, Oregon's going to the Big Ten. And the Big Ten and the SEC are neck and neck right now. I know some people would say the SEC is still better, but the Big Ten has a legitimate argument. They just won a title. They got really good teams coming in the conference. They got a lot of money, deep pockets. So both conferences are loaded. Everybody else is way down. Big 12, ACC are nowhere near on the level. And you see that with the playoff committee. And you see that with just the way people are treating the ACC schools and stuff like that. It's That's for Will. That's for Will. Stephen Cherry saying Freeman going to Alabama. No.
I think he's a better option than Lanning, but yeah.
He probably is, but why would he? No, he's not going
No,
to
he
leave.
wouldn't leave now.
No, that's hilarious. I love it. That's funny. Yeah, I saw someone in Mark Rogers' chat earlier say Urban Meyer has even mentioned. Yeah, Urban Meyer's not going to get hired at Alabama. That the A&M would have made sense. That'd have been awesome. That would have been hilarious with A&M and Urban Meyer. Been
Thanks,
great.
Ty Guy.
Ty Guy said, great show, guys. I need to run. Appreciate you for sticking around, Ty Guy. Sorry we were a little late, but appreciate you for being here. Appreciate your insight as well. Hopefully for you and every Alabama fan, including myself, that Alabama hires the right guy. It does appear to be Lanning, but hopefully whoever it is that they hire the right guy. You have any more thoughts, Will, on Alabama, Nick Saban, anything else before we move on to something else?
Yeah, I mean, Nick Saban, he's definitely the best college football coach post desegregation, and I have a lot of respect for him. I do think he's generally a good person, but I was sick of him winning.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. You know, you can't beat him, join him. I saw a lot of people became Alabama fans in the last 10 to 15 years because of the fact that they just kept on winning. It is what it is for other fan bases, but it does seem like Alabama's time might be out of the limelight right now for a little bit, unless they're able to continue to, stay at the top of the sport. It's going to be a lot easier with the playoff, but to make it. But I do believe that Alabama might take a bit of a step down. We'll have to see how big of a step down that is. But Nick Saban was arguably the best coach of all time, especially in the modern era. And I'm just very glad that I was able to watch him coach at Alabama. It was awesome. Fantastic run that he had, and just it's going to be hard to replicate. Maybe Kirby can do it if he sticks around long enough and he can win enough titles. We'll see, but it's going to be very hard. It's just like with Tom Brady in the NFL with all the titles, Super Bowls he won. It's going to be very hard for any quarterback to be able to replicate that. Very hard. It can be done probably, but it's going to be very, very hard.
All right. Well, okay. Am I on now? Okay.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, my internet was wonky for a second there. But we got some new news in the portal. Did we talk about Will Howard last time? I think we did.
I think Will Howard happened before or happened after we did the show last week. I would say on Will Howard, I made a video on Will Howard. If you guys want to check that out on my thoughts there too. But I basically, in my opinion, I don't know how much of an upgrade that he is over Kyle McCord. That's my biggest thing with Will Howard. I think he is an upgrade for sure because he has mobility. But if you look at the fact that he turns the ball over, at a decent rate, he had like 10 picks this year. I know it's at a school that has less talent, but I just think that overall he's not a significant upgrade over McCord. He is an upgrade, but with how demanding the Ohio State fan base is, I just, to me, kind of have a hard time thinking that they're going to be satisfied with him unless he just puts up incredible stats. And obviously, if he doesn't beat Michigan, then they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I think if Ryan Day lets Will Howard be what he was at Kansas State, I do think he'll be a little better than McCord. Maybe not as much as Ohio State fans want.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Steven Cherry says Will Howard will win the Heisman. Good riddance to midcourt. I think Will Howard's really good, Steve. And I will say, and we're probably going to mention it again, and I also made a video on that as well. Judkins going to Ohio State. That helps because the backfield, especially if, they're able to keep Henderson, which we don't know with that, but it makes Ohio State's offense look a lot better. I just don't know, like I said, how much better Will Howard's going to be. I hope for Ohio State fans he's all that they've been wanting in a quarterback. But I see on there Jaden Mayava, USC.
He's going to battle with Miller Moss for that starting spot, man. He's rolling the dice.
What do you think about that? You think he has a shot to win the job?
I think he has a shot. And I also think, even if he doesn't win the job, I think he's going to try to get better with Lincoln Riley and then transfer next year and try to become an NFL quarterback.
I mean, that's probably why he did it. But still, I mean, to me, the best improvement you can possibly make is starting, right? That going out there and playing is the best way to get better. Improve through your mistakes. And if he's a backup, I just don't know how much it's going to help him. Maybe just learning.
Yeah, he's trusting Lincoln Riley's quarterback development history.
If he wins the job, it's great for him. But Miller Moss, it's going to be a tough fight. Miller Moss did really well in the bowl game.
Mm-hmm. Is there one more? Tate Rodemaker to Southern Miss. That's pretty new, right?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that last time. That's a big downgrade. I mean,
I don't think he looked any better than Steve Angeli did. So.
Oh no, but still, it's like Florida State to Southern Miss. It's just a big drop, but I mean, he'll start, so good for him.
Yeah. Diego Pavia and Jordan McLeod are still looking to start.
I think with some of these guys, if you wait too long, you're just kind of in trouble because a lot of these teams don't need a QB. I mean, most of the Power 4 schools already got their quarterback. Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Even Miami, right? You said Miami got their guy.
Mm-hmm.
Won it from Albany or something?
Yep. These two guys are new. I guess Oregon got their quarterback. They're going to use Oregon State. They're going to use the Idaho quarterback.
Yeah, I think he was actually about a week and a half ago. We didn't talk about it last time. But, yeah, he put up big stats at Idaho, just like the New Hampshire quarterback that went to Minnesota, but it's a smaller level. How will it translate? So, if it translates well, then maybe Oregon State will be fine there.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, the big news is Quinshon Judkins going from Ole Miss to Ohio State. Do you think if him and Travion Henderson come, that's a nice 1-2 punch for the Buckeyes for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the Judkins edition makes the Will Howard one better. And that's my biggest thing on that. Because when I initially thought of Will Howard, I'm like, I don't know how much better he's going to be. And Ohio State fans are very demanding of their quarterbacks. But now you've got Judkins going there, which big loss to Ole Miss. Because Ole Miss, every single move that they made in the offseason, Ty guy just said, hey guys, just received 6 messages too. You're pretty reliable that Miss Terry was diagnosed with dementia. That's terrible. That's unfortunate.
Hopefully prayers for Miss Terry. Yeah, my grandmother's going through it too. I mean, she doesn't have dementia. I think she's just old, but she's been calling my uncle my grandfather's name, and we're like, oh no.
That's sad. Yeah. Prayers for her as well. It stinks. Age stinks, but. Yeah, but definitely thanks for letting us know, Ty guy, and we'll be keeping her in our prayers. But with Judkins, though, like I said, I think he makes the Will Howard edition better because the fact that it's a big loss for Ole Miss because everything's gone right in the offseason for them until this news. They've gotten all these additions, and Ole Miss, a lot of people think they're going to compete with Georgia and Bama next year. It is really good stuff for Ole Miss, and then they lose him. The only bad break they've gotten. And then Ohio State, Travion Henderson is not announced, to my knowledge, that he's going pro yet. And if he returns and you've got Henderson and Judkins in the backfield, that is a dangerous backfield. That is a really good 1-2 punch. And that's going to make Will Howard's life a lot easier.
I just think they gotta hire a new O-line coach, man. I don't think Justin Fry's it. If they get a good O-line coach, that would also really help them
I
out.
agree with that. It does seem like their offensive line is a lot worse than it used to be. Like it used to be very hard to sack Ohio State
Mhm.
quarterbacks, and it's gotten easier. So I agree with that. But I think Judkins is a fantastic addition for them for sure.
Mhm. How low is he? I know Ole Miss got their guy. Maybe he isn't official yet. That he's in the portal. Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
I passed
Logan
him.
Diggs.
Logan
Yeah, they
Diggs.
needed a replacement. And I said that in the video too when I was talking about. So if you guys go back and watch the video, I'm like, Ole Miss needs a running back replacement or whatever. So, but now it's finalized. Logan Diggs to Ole Miss. That's a good replacement. He's talented, and I mean, is he going to be able to replicate Judkins' stats?
Mhm.
Probably not, but still, at least Ole Miss got a talented guy to replace him.
I mean, he was good at Notre Dame, good at LSU, and now he's going to Ole Miss. Like, he's been good everywhere. He's just been hopping around, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they did a good job there, and it just shows you how much good that Lane Kiffin is at getting portal guys. I mean, they're doing a good job.
Evan Stewart. I mean, someone's going to get Evan Stewart.
Oh yeah, it's interesting, and it's taken a while. I mean, like he's been in the portal for a very long time. Like we've done these, looking at the portal, segments for a long time, and like he's been there with no home yet. It's interesting, but yeah, someone big's gonna take him.
I have a feeling that this is not trying to be negative. I have a feeling that he's asking for a lot of money, and he hasn't gotten the money yet.
It's probably true. I mean, when you look at Julian Fleming, right, when he was transferring from Ohio State, and then like it was rumored he was going to Penn State, and he just sat on it for a while. It was probably like him looking around just to be sure, like if anybody else was gonna give him a better offer, and then he just settled with Penn State. Like that's kind of how a lot of this stuff works. And you're probably right with him, and they don't even have like a rumored place. Like it's probably that. It is what it is. I mean, like you're that talented. I get it, but sometimes
Yeah.
you just want to. I wouldn't say be unreasonable, but you just want to make it easier on these potential teams that are looking at you and just say, I'm talented. I'm talented. That's why you want me. But I'm not gonna oversell. I guess
Yeah. I mean, he was part of that #1 recruiting class, of course. He was
yeah,
either
that
the
disintegrated in front of A&M's very eyes. That thing just went away.
and he was either the #1 or #2 wide receiver in that class. Do you want to guess who the other one was? He's been good.
My brain's not thinking right
Luther
now.
Burden from Missouri
Luther
was the
Burden,
other.
yeah, Luther Burden, yeah. My brain wasn't thinking, man, but
Yeah.
yeah, I can I definitely imagine that because really amazing that Missouri got him. By the way, yeah, that's like
He got
really good addition for them. And he's made their offense very good. Yeah, appreciate that, Jackson. He's giving you a shout out in the chat.
Thanks, Jackson.
And me as well. Appreciate that. 2,000 subs. We're getting there. Appreciate all your support.
All right. I think that's pretty much it for the portal.
Yeah, there hasn't been too many big announcements. I mean, there'll be like a couple more, especially like with Alabama right now. Maybe if Alabama loses a guy or two, maybe like with a decommitment or something. But other than that, the portal is starting to slow down. It will heat back up maybe again in the spring. Because, I mean, you're going to have like all these spring practices, and then guys realize, man, I'm further down the depth chart than I thought. And then there'll be, some more movements. It's crazy. The portal is just so unpredictable. Like Judkins, I mean, that came out of nowhere. No one thought that. And then Ohio State, looking a little bleak. And then you get Will Howard and Judkins, and now everybody, thinks Ohio State's in a great place. So things can change on a dime.
See, we could talk about some coaching carousel news besides Nick Saban as well.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, Nick Saban's definitely the big news. Why we headlined the show with it. That's why the thumbnail had it, because I mean, it's big news. I mean, like I said, I thought it was going to happen in a year or two. I just cannot believe the news finally happened that Nick Saban is no longer coaching Alabama. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about Carolina hiring Jeff Collins?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing as well, because I tweeted on that. I feel like overall it's not a bad hire. I mean, he's had success in the past as a DC. You know, when he was at Florida, Mississippi State. But I mean, he hasn't been a defensive coordinator in a few years, and I know the Georgia Tech tenure went bad, but the problem was he was trying to shift the style of play from the Paul Johnson era. You're going from triple options, and now you're trying to run a spread offense, and it didn't work. And then you had Jeff Sims at quarterback, right? And like Jeff Sims just never developed. So I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I mean, he's probably an upgrade from that horrible defense last year. He has to be. So even if he can marginally make the defense better, I'd say it's a good enough hire. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, he hasn't been a head coach in a while. I mean, a coordinator in a while. So that's like a little concerning. Like, how good of a coordinator can he be? But we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
it was bad last
negative
year.
I have too.
Yeah. Texas hiring a new linebackers, DC linebackers coach.
I remember. I have an interesting question for you, Will. Do you think Penn State hiring Tom Allen at defensive coordinator is a better hire, or Jeff Collins at North Carolina? Or what do you think?
I think Tom Allen has more credibility. So I guess Tom Allen. Yeah.
Yay, Tom Allen. Point for Tom Allen. I had to ask, sorry.
But I know LSU hired Texas linebackers coach as their new D coordinator, which is kind of weird because he hasn't been a D coordinator before.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they're paying him $1.5 million a year, so
that's pretty hefty.
Pretty hefty.
Now I remember when coordinators barely made $1 million back in the past. Like, a lot of them made just hundreds of thousands. This is insane.
Kevin Steele retiring. And who knows where Tommy Rees will go?
I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to keep him or they're going to go with someone else. I really don't know. I think it kind of depends on who. Like, if Lanning's the guy. Like, if it was DeBoer, I think he'd bring Grubb along, but I don't know with Lanning. I have no idea. Like, I don't know what he would do.
Do you want to talk about Michigan winning? We don't have to talk about Michigan.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I've made a video on the game, and
I don't think we really want to talk about it, so we don't have to talk about it.
I can just say, you know, to reiterate really quickly that Michigan played well. They did. But Washington made a lot of mistakes, and that allowed Michigan, I guess you would say, to win the game by the score that they did, because it really was not a blowout game. I mean, a lot of Michigan fans,
it wasn't a blowout game.
They take it that they just completely destroyed them, but it was not. I mean, Washington had the Roma Dunze pass, and then, you know, just the 4th and 4 drop, and then Penix got hurt. Penix getting hurt ended. I mean, he got hurt his leg, and then he wasn't the same. And then Dylan Johnson be hurt all game. It is what it is, and there was bad holding calls. I mean, everybody saw that. There was a lot of missed holding calls. All that being said, it would have made the game a lot closer. Bravely Creative Travel, appreciate you being here. Says, howdy, friends, just getting here. So with Steele retiring this week, how much do you think Bama knew before today? Here's South Carolina. Dab was a name linked as well. Yeah, Dab was definitely a name, but Dan Lanning seemingly looking like he could be the guy right now with all the news with him on the plane to Tuscaloosa. And I think they did as well. Like Will said, I think they knew. It makes sense, because I don't think Nick Saban would just out of nowhere, you know, just up and retire. No one would know. I think they knew. I think even if they won the national title, he probably would have retired too.
All right, can we talk a little NFL now?
Yeah, we can talk about the NFL. I also did a video on that. Like everything we're talking about, I've made videos on it. I've talked about the national championship game in a video. I talked about the NFL playoffs, the wild card right now. I just did a video on that today. So if you want my full thoughts, you can go check out my videos if you want. I made videos on all of the subjects we're talking about. I've even done the portal as well. So a lot of news and, covering it here, but also covering it on my videos as well. The big news was Nick Saban retiring for sure. We've talked about a lot of that at the beginning of the show. Just definitely groundbreaking news. Yeah, Jackson says the Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff match is going to be awesome. I 100% agree.
So we have Browns and Texans as the first game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing with this game, which I said in my video about it, is that I think that it's interesting that you have a rookie versus basically like the oldest guy playing right now, right? I mean, you've got Joe Flacco. He's almost about to turn 39 years old. He's won a Super Bowl. He's got all the experience in the world going up against C.J. Stroud, who's a rookie who's never been here. That's the interesting thing to me about this game.
Mm-hmm. I think if it was in Cleveland, I wouldn't give Houston much of a chance. But since it's in NRG, oh no, I'm still going to go with the Browns.
I get that. I think a lot of people feel the same. That's why the Browns are favored by 2.5. CJ Stroud, I mean, he's done really well. He's shown a lot of poise just to get them here. I don't think anybody was expecting the Texans to be here, but it's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that game.
I still think I'll go 28-24 Brownies.
Yeah, I have my score prediction in my video, so I'm not going to say it.
Oh,
I've done all these. I've done all these already.
You can tell me later. Dolphins.
Like I don't want to say my score when I've literally said my
score
score in my video, and like
I get it. All right. We have Tyreek going back to Kansas City at it's going to be a nice -1 at kickoff.
Yeah, and it's on Peacock. So like a lot of people aren't even going to watch this game. I know some people have Peacock, but not everybody has Peacock.
Yeah. Yeah, Jackson is talking about Marty Ball. I mean, Denver got blown out in both of those Super Bowls, so I don't think they would have won even if they would have beaten the Broncos. But Dolphins, Chiefs. I do think the Dolphins are better, especially with they've been playing better this year, especially. But I don't know if they're going to have Jalen Waddle back.
Yeah, health is a big problem for Miami. That's why the Chiefs are favored by 4. I think they were favored by like 3, so the line's shifting more in the Chiefs' favor. And the Dolphins, I think several of their defenders are not playing. Like Van Ginkel's out, a couple other guys are out. And plus, Miami has not played well against other good teams this year. They beat mostly bad teams. But then with the Chiefs, they
haven't played well against anyone.
So both teams are not really reliable right now. They're not super trustworthy. I mean, the Chiefs being an Arrowhead helps big time, but they lost to the Raiders in Arrowhead. So, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it, even though I won't be able to really tune into that one.
Yeah. You can go to Jackson's Peacock party.
Pretty cool.
You know what? I'll go with Miami. Screw it. I'll go with the Dolphins.
The underdog.
Go with the Dolphins to win 31-21. As Taylor Swift will go and comfort Travis Kelce as the Chiefs lose in Arrowhead.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how that she'll be able to handle that, and he'll be able to handle that, and the team in general if the Chiefs do lose. I mean, they'll be talking about it for a while. Been talking about all season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you pull up Travis Kelce, first thing you see is Taylor Swift. So it's like
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Sunday games.
Steelers, Bills. Bills favored by 10. Big favorite. Mason Rudolph, he's played well last couple weeks. Steelers offense looking better. But, I mean, I don't believe the Steelers would be here right now if the Ravens didn't sit all their guys. Them sitting Lamar and all that to help the Steelers win. Credit to the Steelers for still winning the game in Baltimore, but still, they weren't at full strength. They got the win, made the playoffs. Bills have been up and down, but they've been playing a lot better lately. Josh Allen, though, very turnover prone, but he can make spectacular plays as well. I like this matchup. But I think this is a game that a lot of people are going to pick the same team, though.
I would consider picking the Steelers if TJ Watt was playing.
Yeah,
TJ
him
Watt's
being
not
out
playing.
is another reason Buffalo's favored by as much as they are.
So I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think they'll cover the 10. I'll go 28-6 Bills.
Mm.
I don't think the Steelers just can score.
Yeah, it stinks really badly that Watt got hurt by his own player accidentally running into him. It was a very unfortunate injury. The only good thing is, though, is it does look like he avoided a severe injury. They claim that if the Steelers were able to advance a couple weeks, he might be able to play, but I don't think a lot of people think they're going to advance.
Mm-hmm. So we got the Packers and the Cowboys.
Dallas favored by 7.5.
This is a reverse of the 90s sort of situation. The Cowboys have not been able to beat the Packers. They could not beat Aaron Rodgers. There was one game where there's like, okay, did Des Bryant catch it or not catch it? But Packers won that game. Yeah, of course, in the 90s, like Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith, they dominated Brett Favre and Sterling Sharp. And then once the Cowboys declined, once they let Barry Switzer was there for a while, then the Packers eventually won their 2 NFC championships in the Super Bowl. I can't freaking pick Dallas to win a playoff game. I'm picking the Packers.
Oh my goodness. Will is going with the spicy picks here. 2 big upsets. Well, Miami's not as big of an upset, but this one's a big upset here. I mean, Green Bay, to Jordan Love's credit, they're only 9-8, but Jordan Love got it together down the stretch of the season. A lot of people were not happy with him in the middle of the season. He was struggling, but he got it together, playing a lot better football. But Dallas, can they finally break the snide of not being able to win a playoff game? Can they do it? Prime opportunity in Jerry world. They got everything going their way. They cannot blow it.
So I'll go with the Packers to win. I'll go 38-34. It'll be a shootout.
Not a lot of defense. That'd be kind of shocking, especially Dallas. I mean, they got good defensive players, but sometimes they don't show up. But when they do show up, they can be stifling. It's going to be interesting.
We got the Rams and the Lions.
Stafford return game to Detroit. The Rams played a lot better toward the end of the season. Like, they looked left for dead at one point, but when Kupp got healthy, Puka Nacua was really good as a rookie. Really good. And Stafford is a veteran quarterback. He's been in the league a long time. And I don't think he's going to really be fazed by, going to the Lions. I don't really think he's going to be fazed by it. But Detroit, they haven't won a playoff game since 1992. Is this their year? Are they going to get it done? I mean, they got the home field advantage, and Jared Goff's put up good stats this year. They got talent. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, they got a lot of talent.
I don't think they've even won the wild card round, Jackson. Are you sure? I mean, maybe who did they beat? I know Jackson's saying that they. I don't know. I am partial to Kyron Williams, one of my favorite Irish players.
That enough to play your pick?
This game is a pure coin flip, man.
It is. I think this is one of the harder games to pick. I do. I think it's along with the Browns-Texans. That's a tough game as well.
I'm gonna give it to the Lions. I just think they have a bit more talent.
Plus, I think they're angry. I mean, especially after that Dallas loss, that the game did the way it did with the bad, call and everything. I think that they're going to be angry. They're at home. They haven't, like I said, won a playoff game in 31 years.
Yeah,
They're gonna.
that was the last year the Redskins won a Super Bowl. So that also to put it into perspective.
That's crazy. So I think they're going to play really hard regardless. I think they're going to give it everything they've got. The Rams are going to have to play very well if they're going to win.
Yeah. I'll go 31-24 Lions.
Should be a really good game.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not on Peacock.
We have Eagles Bucks in the last game. These two teams both shouldn't be in the playoffs. So how bad the Eagles have been playing?
Well, the Phillies got the record though. I know what you mean.
They've been playing like crap. They lost the Cardinals and the Giants in back-to-back weeks.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor balling out on him too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ugly. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, to be fair, I think he's not. His body's letting him down right now. He's not feeling that well. He's injured, and that's impacting the offense. And I think they've got just a few too many injuries. The Bucks, though, Baker Mayfield is hurt too. He got hurt in the ribs, and he played awful last week against the Panthers. I mean, literally all the Panthers had to do to beat the Bucks was DJ Chark not fumbling the football at the goal line, and literally Eddie Pinheiro not being out with a hamstring because the Panthers kicker missed a field goal. If the Panthers kicker hit a field goal because it would have been Pinheiro and Chark didn't fumble at the 1, the Panthers win 10-9, and the Bucks are eliminated, and the Saints would be here right now. And that probably would be a better game. So, I mean, because there probably would be some more offense. The Bucks aren't scoring. The Eagles aren't scoring. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not great right now for either of these teams. I just think it's hilarious, though, that how bad the Bucks play, but all they had to do was beat the Panthers again. The Panthers blew it. They just blew it. Bryce Young didn't even play that bad. It was terrible. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think the Eagles, if they play like they did earlier in the season, they easily win this game. But if they play like they have lately, it's going to get dicey.
I'm definitely going to bet the under. 43.5 seems like too much points.
That's likely. I agree.
What a crappy game, man. I don't want to pick either team. No team deserves to go through.
Well, one team will regardless.
I'll pick the Eagles. I mean, I'll root for the Bucks, but I'll pick the Eagles to win. I'll go Eagles 9-6.
What a score prediction. 9-6. I like it.
All right.
Got anything else that you want to talk about?
Oh, let's talk about the coach firings in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, Mike Vrabel, Arthur Smith. I mean, there's Pete Carroll.
Have you made any videos yet?
No, I haven't really had any time.
All right, well, now we can do them. We can do them now.
Been covering more with the college, but yeah, definitely with the NFL. It's insane news, especially with Pete Carroll. I mean, that's kind of just crazy.
Arthur Smith got fired. He deserved it, man. He was bad.
Yeah, it was expected to because he went 7-10, 3 straight seasons. I only gave him defense in that one game, though, with Tom Brady, where they called the bad roughing the passer.
Yeah.
He had the ball in his hand. They had Tom Brady ball in his hand, and it was a clean sack. And they're like, roughing the passer. And I'm like, wow. The worst roughing the passer call ever. Arthur Smith lost his mind. And I totally don't blame him. But still, unfortunately, wasn't winning enough. And in this day and age, I mean, Panthers fired Frank Reich after 10 games. So it's like they don't give you any time anymore. So he got 3 seasons. Unfortunately, Desmond Ridder never really panned out the way that
he was a bad. I don't think he was never even that good at Cincinnati.
So, I mean, it didn't pan out. And then Heineke at the end was like a last-ditch effort. Didn't really work out this season. Bijan Robinson's really good, and they have a decent defense, but they just did not have enough.
Their offense stinks.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith is not a good play caller, man.
So very unfortunate for him, but definitely a firing that made sense.
Mm-hmm. And then Frank Reich got fired, and the GM Scott Fitterer got fired from the Panthers.
Yeah, the Carolina Panthers basically just fired everybody.
Why didn't they keep the coach from last year, the interim coach?
Steve Wilkes, I mean, he had them grounding and pounding.
Yeah.
I mean, they were moving the ball. Like, they won like 6-7 games. They were decent. It's terrible. Manimal Matt, appreciate you for being here. Says, Will, who do you want to replace Rivera?
Oh, Ben Johnson is who they want to get.
Ben Johnson's been a candidate for a lot of teams. Even the Panthers, a lot of people said Ben Johnson, and then they went with Frank Reich.
So he would be good. I know you're a Lions fan, so you want him to stay. Man, I would also take Mike Vrabel, but I think Mike Vrabel wants to go to the Patriots if they fire Bill Belichick.
I just can't believe with Bill Belichick, like, they had it where it looked like he was gone. Like, there was no way in the world that Bill Belichick was staying. They parted ways, and then now he's floating around. Is he gone? Is he not? It's interesting with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Carolina's just a mess. I mean, I don't even know if anybody wants to go to the Panthers right now. I mean, it's ugly. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of work they got to do to fix the Panthers.
I wouldn't mind Eric Bieniemy being promoted.
Yeah, he makes sense. I mean, you don't really want to let him, lose him, right? Because you had to do everything you could do to get him from the Chiefs. And then, like, you even mentioned last year that you said that you thought when they brought him over that, like, he was promised the job eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe. So
but then Dan Snyder sold the team.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. We don't really know what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I know the offense wasn't great, but the offensive line's horrible for the Commanders. It was horrible.
It got worse as the season went on, too, because Sam Howell was doing pretty well at the beginning of the season. I mean, they were winning some games. I mean, I remember the Eagles game, both those games. And that's when the Eagles were playing better.
Mm-hmm.
Those games were really good. Sam Howell was throwing for like 350 and a couple touchdowns. The Commanders looked like a close to 500 team. Like, they looked like about an 8, 9, 7, and 10 type of team. They looked decent. And then they just collapsed toward the end of the season. It was ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Eric Bieniemy wouldn't be a terrible option, I don't think, but I don't know if they'll go with him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Move on. Who do you want for the Panthers? I mean, I know Jim
Harbaugh, Ben Johnson are like the two that are like the big names right now, but are they going to go to the Panthers? Probably not. I mean, why would Jim Harbaugh go from Michigan to the Panthers?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, Harbaugh, if he leaves Michigan, is going to want to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know if the Panthers are in any condition right now to even get there, even with a Harbaugh. I don't think.
Yeah, neither are the Commanders.
No. And I don't know if Ben Johnson didn't leave for the Panthers last year, and it would have been better for him to take the job last year before the Panthers got destroyed by the bad moves they've made. Like, they're worse now than last year. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know who would want the job, really, and I haven't really looked at any coaching candidate lists. I don't have no idea. If you heard anything?
I haven't heard much, other than the Commanders are interviewing Ben Johnson, and a bunch of other teams are, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you would want to go to the Commanders now. The Commanders are worse than last year, too.
I know. It's like both the Commanders and the Panthers are worse than the year before. It's not.
Commanders are better in the fact that they have a new owner, but
there's
that at least. But
yeah, just play-wise, they're worse. But the Panthers, they were the worst team in the NFL this past season based on record. I think that if they had a better offensive line, they could have maybe won 5 or 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. They were close in a few. The defense isn't terrible, but
defense is still bad for the Commanders, too. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the secondary is just bad for the Commanders as well. So The Bears are a mess, too.
So they fired their offensive coordinator.
But they're keeping their head coach. Why are they keeping him? He's not good.
I think Justin Fields can work at the Bears if they give him a chance. If they keep,
I think they're going to draft Caleb Williams now. That's what I'm hearing.
but the thing is that they're so close.
Yeah.
They were not that far from the playoffs.
The Bears are just incompetent.
I think they need to stick with Fields. I mean, I know Fields has flaws. He's not an elite passer. And the issue with him running a lot is eventually that's going to result in injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can develop more of his passing to the point of like Lamar Jackson, if he can get close to that, I think it could work. But if they give up on him now, I mean, the Bears might get worse again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're not that far away, but if they make the wrong move, if they go with a Caleb Williams, they're gonna have to make sure that they build around whoever's the quarterback. If they do give up on Fields, but it just would make the last few years seem like a waste of time because you had Fields for 3 years now, and you just get rid of him, and like that was a waste of time. What was the point? You drafted him. He's getting better. He's performed well the last few games. You were this close to the playoffs, and then now you get rid of him. And it's like, what was the whole point of the past few seasons? You built to nothing. That's kind of my point. It's like if the Panthers keep Bryce Young for 3 or 4 years, then get rid of him and draft someone else. It's like if you realize Bryce isn't the guy now, then you don't need to have him anymore. You don't need to have him for 3 or 4 years and then move him, and then you just wasted all that time. That's kind of my point. But I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. Like, if you agree with that, or
I think the Bears are going to mess it up. I just have a feeling they are.
Well, whatever they do,
I hope not for Bears fans, but sorry,
they
Bears
probably
fans.
will. But I'm with you. I hope they don't. I personally just hope they keep Fields, but we'll see what they do.
Jaguars fired their DC.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave up a lot of points to the Titans in the final week of the regular season, a team that was terrible on offense this year. And then they're making Ryan Tannehill look like he should be the starter again.
Yeah.
I mean, not good. I picked the Jaguars to beat the Titans, too. I picked the Jags, and they lost. They were one of the only teams that lost because I actually went 13-3 last week in my NFL picks, and they were one of the ones that let me down.
Raiders clean house.
Yeah, that's definitely long time ago news. Definitely made sense. Josh McDaniels, everybody wanted him fired. Everybody did. And the Raiders got better.
He's a horrible hire, too. I'm like, what are you doing, Raiders?
A lot of people have talked about the Bill Belichick tree and how a lot of them haven't really been that successful. I mean, a lot of them haven't.
Yeah. Like Josh McDaniels, horrible with the Broncos and horrible with the Raiders. So.
Yeah, after the Broncos stint, it's like, why would you hire him? I mean, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Is that it? Oh, no, we have the Chargers, Brandon Staley, another horrible coach.
Yeah. I picked the Chargers in that Raiders game. And it was not a good reception. It was like, worst pick ever. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, the Raiders were favored by, like, 2. Like, I just picked the Chargers because the Raiders were not playing good either. And then the Raiders, that was like Aiden O'Connell's, like, big – I mean, he didn't even necessarily have, like, a huge day, but he played well, and the Raiders' defense just kept turning them over. Like, the Chargers were just giving them the ball. Like, they're just giving it away. They're just handing it to them. Yeah. Like, did you see that one kick return where, like, literally the guy just gave it to him? So, yeah, it was bad. I knew it was so funny because it was the next morning and he wasn't fired yet. And everybody's like, he still has a job. And then he finally did get fired. But, yeah, it was like after that game, there was no way he was keeping his job. There was one guy on the Monday Night Football set that said, I forgot who it was, but he was like, they need to fire him right now during halftime. It was bad. It was just really bad. Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale resigned.
Yeah.
That team's a mess too. The Giants.
I don't know. He had some good years, but this year just was not good.
Yeah, I mean the problem is that I don't know. Like they have decent players, but it almost felt like they had better players a couple years ago. I don't know. They just weren't that great. I don't know if it was all on him, but it is
Mhm.
what it is.
Titans firing Brable. This was a bit of a surprise.
I didn't think he was going to get fired. I mean, he's had some good seasons there. And I mean, how much of it is his fault? I mean, I know they drafted Levis, but I mean, the thing is when you've got a guy like Ryan Tannehill that's older, that's not mobile that much, and your O-line struggling and everything, and you get Will Levis, and like he was a project quarterback. He's not a guy that you really were expecting to come in and be what CJ Stroud's done. So I don't know. I just, to me, I don't really think I'm kind of shocked they fired him. Really, I mean, I get it kind of, but it doesn't make as much sense as Arthur Smith getting fired, or I guess Ron Rivera getting fired either.
And
Hummus
of course,
Hero,
Ron.
we appreciate you for being here.
What's up, Hummus? And we have Ron Rivera and Mark Mayhew both getting fired.
I hate it for Ron Rivera because I like Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
You know, he's at the Panthers.
He wasn't
and
good.
That's when Cam Newton was there and they had a good run. But I mean, I don't know how good of a coach Rivera is.
And yeah, Cam Newton propped him up.
Yeah, I would say based off of that alone, you know, what we've seen from, you know, when Cam Newton was declining and at the end of that stint, and then now him with the Commanders and how it went, I do think, like you, I think Cam Newton did prop him up. So it makes sense. I had a feeling he was getting fired. Most of these made sense.
All right. So
Jeffrey, how you taking the retirement news? He said, "I'm still pretty stunned." Don't blame me, Jackson. It's crazy. He's still a Nick Saban. Going to take a long time for Bama fans to have the shock wear off.
Yeah, and we're all hearing it's Dan Lanning based on all the news.
Yeah, we'll see if the news comes out tomorrow. See, Hummus says he thought he was going to stick around a couple more years. That was my thought, too. I thought he was going to stay for at least one more year or two. I didn't think he was going to stick it out the rest of his contract. I don't know, but I thought he would stay for at least 1 or 2 more years. And
it's just sad that Miss Terry has dementia. It's sad news.
Yeah, hopefully she will be okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or is that about it?
Well, do you want to talk about like your favorite Saban memories before we sign off?
I mean, I can say, you know, just off the top of my head, that the game against Georgia, you know, when everyone thought they were going to lose and then Tua came in, that game, man, right? Like, it was over. The game was supposed to be over. And then you've got Tua coming in for Jalen Hurts, and then in overtime to Devontae Smith. Unbelievable, man. Absolutely unbelievable pass. I mean, that they're going to show that, you know, when they show like great college football moments for years to come. That was unbelievable. Like, and then like on the opposite side of the spectrum, I'll always remember the kick six. Always with Auburn. That game, even though they didn't win, that will always stick in my memory. That was like one of the big, like you talk about heartbreak, Will, you know, with Notre Dame losing the band. Like that was my heartbreak game right there. I'm like, no, you just lost on a kick six return. This is unbelievable. It was, and they missed the championship game. That was last year at the BCS. You know, that was just unbelievable. But I would say those two moments on the good end and the negative end, they stick out the most to me.
And we thought Ohio State was going to be in a championship game, and then Michigan State beat Ohio State, and then Auburn got in. That was a crazy end of season.
Yeah, so much drama.
And then Florida State beat Auburn. That was a crazy.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher back when people were high on him with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Man, that was a while ago. I agree, Jackson. All Bama fans are going to be thankful for the Saban era, just like the Bear Bryant era.
Yeah. At least Saban kind of went out on top, unlike Bear Bryant did. I mean, they won the ball game that year, but the game against Auburn that year, that was a rough one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I feel bad every time you come in, Hummus. We're finishing up. That's
Yeah,
why
it
I always
always seems so. He's like right at the end. At least he makes it, definitely. And, we
yeah.
talked more about Saban at the beginning. Last thing, Hummus here said my favorite thing about Saban was how he dealt with the media, never pulled punches or overly cared their feelings, was never rude or aggressive. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about Saban. I don't really think anybody, outside of a few, there's always going to be few people that hate, but he wasn't hated as much as other, big time coaches. There's a lot of people that would at least say, I don't, not a fan of Alabama, but I respect Saban. So he was, he was an icon. And he will be for the rest of college football history, the rest of history. I mean, people are going to remember Nick Saban.
Jackson's saying it's like replacing Coach K, Bear, Wooden, Trebek, or Lombardi. Well, Brian Bear's replacement, Wooden's replacement, Lombardi's replacement all failed. So hopefully for Bama's sake, it's better than that. But
Yeah. I mean, it's hard replacing one of the best. It definitely is. But I mean, hopefully, like if it goes as bad as some of those for Alabama, it's not going to be pretty. So hopefully, it's not that bad.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah, appreciate everybody for being here. It was a great show talking about Nick Saban retiring and the memories, and we talked about the candidates as well. We talked about NFL playoffs and the recap of the championship game for brief and the portal, and a lot of coaching news. So it's crazy stuff. We'll definitely be back. I'm assuming, for maybe in the coming weeks to talk about some more news and stuff if things happen. But appreciate everybody for being here. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below what thoughts about stuff going on in college football right now and the NFL. And thanks for being here, everybody.